Insurance fraud in the UK has hit epidemic levels. It's costing us over £2 billion every year. That's almost £6 million every day. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injuries, even phantom pets. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing. And every year it's adding over £50 to your insurance bill. But insurers are fighting back, exposing 15 fake claims every hour. Armed with covert surveillance systems,
subject out the vehicle,
sophisticated data analysis techniques, and a highly skilled, dedicated police unit. They're catching the criminals red-handed.
Just don't lie to us.
All those con men, scammers, and cheats on the fiddle are now caught in the act and claimed and shamed. Coming up, a fraudulent cyclist takes his claim up a gear.
All in all, we estimated that he would be seeking around £3 million in damages.
Stop, look and listen. This woman certainly didn't.
Suddenly a large object has struck you, you've fallen down. You see your life flashing before your eyes.
And the police's Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department is out to catch some bad guys.
Still get quite a buzz when you're sort of knocking on somebody's door and talking out the baddies.
Life goes in cycles. Well, it certainly does for the 13 million people in the UK who regularly get on their bikes. But accidents do happen, and it's often the cyclist that comes off a lot worse. And in August 2008, Majid Khan was no exception.
Mr. Khan was cycling to work actually early one morning, and a vehicle which was insured by ourselves actually had a collision with him, and Mr. Khan was actually very seriously injured.
He had fractures of various vertebrae, multiple rib fractures and lacerations to his liver. He also had a brain hemorrhage and skull fractures. He was in hospital for around a month.
Insurance payouts on serious cycling accidents like this can be massive. And there was no doubt that Majid Khan would need financial help.
An accident like this, for us, it's more about how long it takes to recover and how full the recovery actually is.
Although Majid Khan had been severely injured in the accident, 9 months later he made what was thought to be a full recovery and even returned back to work.
Everything was proceeding pretty normally as a claim. We were investigating it, we were working with his lawyers.
We offered Majid Khan £75,000 in damages, and that offer was initially rejected.
With a cash offer refused and what appeared to be a full recovery, the insurers and solicitors thought Mr. Khan had simply got back on his bike and got on with life. But 6 months later, that all changed when Majid Khan's father-in-law got in touch.
He seemed to have a complete relapse. He could only recognise his wife. He was struggling with day-to-day activities. He was unable to walk down the road unaided.
We were told that Mr. Khan wasn't allowed out of the house on his own because his family feared that he would just wander aimlessly. He had no sense of danger, and so he wouldn't have been able to cross roads safely. We were also told that he had no concept of money, so he wouldn't be able to go to the shop and purchase an item. He wouldn't be able to check the change. He'd forgotten how to do basic tasks like using a mobile telephone. What they were alleging was that he was so severely disabled by these injuries that he would need 24-hour care and supervision, and they were alleging that would go on for the rest of his life.
Around-the-clock care would cost millions, £3 million to be exact. That's how much Mr. Khan's family claimed they needed to look after him. But it just didn't add up.
We knew that this was a man who had returned to work, and all of a sudden we were being told that he couldn't work and would never work, and that he was severely disabled.
With suspicions high, the insurance company decided to employ its best tactic in suspected fraudulent claims: surveillance footage.
Sometimes with surveillance, you don't believe that the person you're seeing is the claimant in this action.
The footage was shocking, to say the least.
You can sum up the CCTV footage very easily. It's everything that he claimed he couldn't do, the CCTV showed us that he could do.
The medical experts have been told that Majid Khan didn't smoke. He was seen to smoke quite a few cigarettes. They were told that he wasn't permitted out of the house on his own, yet we saw him out apparently running errands and in some cases looking after small children. That he wouldn't be capable of shopping for himself and that he had no concept of money, yet we see him going into the local shop. That he had forgotten how to do basic tasks such as using a mobile telephone, yet he's seen having quite a long conversation with somebody on a phone. They've been told that he couldn't communicate with anybody, and again he's seen out conversing and laughing with others.
The Majid Khan on the surveillance footage was so unrecognisable from the one described on the insurance claim that even the solicitors had to double-check.
We sent it to the expert who had examined Majid Khan on our behalf during the claim, and it was only once he confirmed that he recognised the man in the footage as the claimant that we were then able to think about disclosing it.
To add insult to injury, the investigation also uncovered pay slips which showed Majid Khan was in full-time employment.
We looked at some of his pay slips and he was working full-time. In fact, he was working overtime.
He'd been peddling so many lies, the case was taken to court.
The judge said that it had been a relatively sophisticated fraud, that it was a grotesque exaggeration, and that everything Majid Khan had done had been a pack of lies.
Majid Khan and his father-in-law were both banged up for 9 months.
We now have a family who has been split up because of their own greed. The grandfather is in prison, the father is in prison, and the mother is now at home trying to cope with a young child on her own.
Unlike some unscrupulous fraudsters, Mr. Khan had genuinely suffered life-threatening injuries and was eventually paid £75,000 compensation.
Mr. Khan absolutely was injured, and we paid the amount of money which we believe covered him for those injuries. The whole issue here is that he took a case where he was injured and then tried to make millions of pounds out of it.
From an original offer of £75,000 for his cycling accident, Majid Khan had pumped up his claim to £3 million. But he was left deflated when he received 9 months behind bars.
Once that lie had been struck, he stuck with that lie. Unfortunately, Mr. Khan is now in jail and will have 9 months to contemplate that issue.
Majid Khan won't now receive the proper compensation to which he was entitled because nobody knows what the effects of the accident truly were on his life.
Coming up, a 15-ton bus gets pushy.
Suddenly a large object has struck you, you've fallen down, you see your life flashing before your eyes.
And an insurance company takes a crash-for-cash criminal to the cleaners.
The evidence was so overwhelmingly strong, we felt it right to make an example of Mr. Singh.
The Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, or IFED for short, is an insurance scammer's worst nightmare.
There is a dedicated 40-strong unit that work 24/7 hunting down insurance fraudsters.
The team was set up over 2 years ago to crack down on insurance crime in the UK.
Is there anything here that shouldn't be here that we're going to find?
In that time, it's made over 450 arrests and seen around 200 prosecutions.
If it's a fraud, it's in insurance, then it may well come to IFED's attention and IFED will take the necessary action.
Police officers, can you come to the door, please?
Unscrupulous fraudsters will stop at nothing in their lust for cash. And with street crime on the increase, why would anyone question a woman who appears to be the unlucky victim of a series of muggings?
Mugging can be a terrifying experience, especially for someone who's a vulnerable victim like a young lady. it can have a traumatic effect on the person that suffered it.
In February 2012, Anita Debnath claimed she was mugged in Trafalgar Square. With over 15 million visitors to the capital every year, it was an unlucky but not necessarily unusual crime to be a victim of, and she immediately reported it to the police.
She's lost various items, all high value, all top of the range smartphones, top of the range designer bags, top of the range purses.
A month later, she was mugged again on a trip to Leeds. Apparently a mugger's magnet, her run of bad luck didn't end there, as she was the victim again 3 months later in Dublin. And then again in Kingston upon Thames. On each occasion, she claimed her handbag had contained more electrical gadgets than MI5. But 4 flyby fleecings just didn't add up.
I would say you're very unlucky if you've been mugged once in a year. To be mugged 4 times in a year, in 4 different locations, in 2 different countries, is almost an impossibility.
Anita Debnath thought that if she played the victim, insurance companies would take pity on her and simply hand over £50,000 in claims.
Anita Debnath invented the muggings to generate some sort of, maybe some sympathy with the insurer, and also the hope that they wouldn't drill too deep into that particular offence. I think as she said she lost her purse on the bus or on the underground, you may have got a different response to saying that she'd actually been robbed in the street. I think that was her way of thinking that she would get an easier ride.
The real mugger in this case was Anita. She claimed from 11 different insurance companies for her made-up muggings.
She obviously felt that she would get the cheque sent through to her at the relevant time once the claim had been settled. Unfortunately for her, she was wrong because the insurers were sharing information. Her pattern of offending emerged, and it was that sheer volume that brought it to the attention of the insurers.
And by reporting the fake crimes to help bolster her claims, Anita Debnath had also robbed the police of their time.
I'd take a particularly dim view of the way Anita Debnath's operated. Street robbery and mugging is a serious offence which would have been treated accordingly by the relevant police force. She's quite happy to waste their time. Officers would have been allocated to investigate that robbery that never occurred.
Anita Debnath had travelled round Britain and Ireland carrying out what she thought was a mugging masterpiece. But her final destination was the Old Bailey.
There were 12 charges of fraud by false representation, to which she pleaded guilty to each one, and the judge sentenced her to 2 years, 3 months custodial sentence.
Anita Debnath thought she could mug the insurers of £50,000. But she was the real loser. And for her lies and deception, she ended up with a long stretch behind bars.
I'm pleased with this particular sentence because I believe it sends out a message that insurance fraud isn't a victimless crime, and it also isn't a crime without consequence.
A vital part of IFED's work is the early morning raid. The element of surprise is a powerful weapon, which enables officers to seize crucial evidence before it's destroyed. For Detective Constable Kate Sibley, it's the highlight of months of investigation.
You still get quite a buzz when you're knocking on somebody's door and taking out the baddies. But then I think it's good that you do have a bit of adrenaline pumping, because you don't know what's going to happen when they open that door.
This morning, Kate is on a double raid. Her colleague, DS Mark Forster, is driving to the other location as part of a joint investigation into a suspected crash for cash claim.
The actual collision has been staged. Effectively, one car has been driven into another car. They've all submitted claims for the damage of the vehicle, recovery costs, and also personal injury.
As this is a multiple raid, it's essential that both teams go in at the same time.
Can we come in and speak to your son, please? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Police officers from the City of London Police. Are they here?
Right now they're not here.
Where are they?
They've gone out work.
Gone out work. Can we come in? We've got a warrant to enter and search the premises.
IFED never take anything at face value, so Kate decides to look for the suspects herself.
Okay, where in?
They're upstairs.
They're upstairs. I did ask you that when I came in.
Did you?
Yeah.
At the other property, Mark has also found the suspect at home with his family.
Right, take a seat for me, please, mate. Just listen to what I'm going to say to you. All right, listen carefully because it is important. All right? I'm arresting you on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud. You conspired with others in order to submit a fraudulent insurance claim in relation to a vehicle collision.
We have a warrant to enter and search these premises as well. So we'll search your bedrooms.
They might be investigating fraud, but they still have to tread carefully when it comes to house rules.
Can we take our shoes off before we go upstairs?
Upstairs, Kate's looking for any computer equipment that may have been used in the alleged fraud.
I'm seizing a laptop that I found and a mobile phone so far, but I've still got all this to do. The phones will be downloaded to get a list of all the phone numbers and calls, and we'll get a list of all the calls that have been made to see if we can link them up to the other suspects that have been arrested. And with the computer, that'll be downloaded, so hopefully there'll be documentation or emails on there in relation to the claims that have been made.
At the other location, Mark also needs to seize any electrical devices.
You got a mobile phone?
Yeah, yeah.
Where's that in your room?
In my pocket, yeah.
You got it there?
Yeah, yeah.
Whilst the phones are important, IFED is also looking for any paperwork that may show any fraudulent activity.
We found some documentation in relation to another accident claim already. It's not an accident that we're aware of at the moment. We need to clarify exactly who's involved in that claim and the nature of it, but we can obviously do check with insurance companies to find out a little bit more about them.
There appears like there's at least 2 more here in this bedroom. I found details of a further claim, may well be legitimate, but it's something we need to look into. It's certainly stuff that we're interested in at the moment. We'll take it away.
It's essential that nothing is touched by the family as IFED conducts its search.
Excuse me, can I just ask you to leave that there for me, please? Yeah, please. You can stand and watch me. I'm not going to. But I just don't want you sort of interfering with things before I've had a look at them.
Any unusually expensive insurance documents are also seized.
This particular insurance quotation we've got here is in relation to when the guy downstairs purchased them, and his insurance just for 1 year was in excess of £1,000 by anyone's standards. Paying out over £1,000 just for an insurance premium seems quite excessive.
It seems the paperwork in the house is raising a number of questions.
We've got 2 separate letters here which are addressed to this particular address. However, they're in a different name, and the name, the male's name listed on both of these 2 letters, as far as we're aware, doesn't reside here. But we'll obviously take these away, make some more inquiries and interview the suspect downstairs as to who this particular individual is.
At the other property, DC Tom Hill is assisting Kate in the search. No cupboard is left untouched.
This is all stuff in the suspect's name. So obviously I'm searching a bit more closely through it all, because it's not his bedroom, but he seems to use this as a, maybe to store his documents.
With all the evidence seized, bagged and removed from the property, Kate reflects on the morning's results.
We've done a search, we've seized computers, thumb drives, mobile telephones, the stuff we wanted to seize, and then we'll get that downloaded and examined, and hopefully we'll get some evidence of that. And now they've been arrested, they're going back to the police station where we'll interview them, and they'll probably be bailed later on today.
At the second location, Mark and his team have also called it a day.
Yeah, it's been a success. We've got the 4 prisoners that we've come out to get, all been arrested, all now in custody. What we often find is where there's one claim, there are numerous previous claims, and that certainly seems to be the case searching this address. So a number of inquiries to be done on those. But yeah, it's been a success.
The case is still under investigation. First Group transports over 2 million passengers every day. Each double-decker weighs in at a whopping 15 tons of steel. Not something you really want to have a run-in with. But if you are bashed by a bus, your case may well end up on Lee Ingram's desk.
The lady alleged that she was walking along the path. She's looked to the left, looked to the right. There's nothing coming, so she's decided to cross the road. As she decided to cross the road, a bus has come out of nowhere, struck her. According to her, she was thrown to the pavement very hard. Her bag and her contents hit the floor and spilled everywhere.
Even though the bus was travelling at low speed, the impact shocked the passengers on board.
She described being hit so hard that she thought she was finished. Suddenly a large object has struck you, you've fallen down. You see your life flashing before your eyes, and it's a terrifying ordeal for anyone to have gone through.
To add insult to injury, in her moment of need, the woman claims she was left abandoned at the roadside.
She's alleging that no one offered her any help. She couldn't get home, she didn't have any taxi fare. The fact that no one had offered her assistance or even offered to call her an ambulance, get her off the floor, yeah, a very sad indictment of society nowadays.
Still, every cloud has a silver lining, and this woman thought it came in the form of an insurance payout.
The lady claimed for physical and mental injuries. She was also claiming that she was unable to look after her children because of this accident. Therefore, her husband had to take 2 weeks off work. No wages coming in, couldn't pay her rent, couldn't pay her bills.
Some people will exaggerate their claims of illness. Some even tell the odd fib about them. So Lee always has a look at the CCTV footage before he reaches for his checkbook.
When I first looked at the CCTV footage, you can see that the bus has impacted with the woman. It's definitely not the front of the bus, more to the side.
The average bus has twice as many eyes as a spider, so Lee sets about looking at all 16 cameras to find out just how badly knocked the woman was.
When you look at the second camera, it shows that the incident isn't as serious as she's described. She hasn't actually fallen over at all. It was her handbag that's actually hit the floor.
Hold on, let's have a look at that again.
She has amazingly been hit by a bus and stayed on her feet.
The woman thought she was on a ticket to ride, but the only part of her that was left sprawled on the floor was her handbag. And was she really left stranded by the side of the road?
When we reviewed all of our evidence, including the CCTV footage, we were quite happy that the circumstances she described just weren't right. So we then wrote to her explaining what had really happened in the incident, which she must have known whether she'd hit the ground or not. We subsequently said we were not going to be paying her claim, and she has now gone away.
So basically, she walked away with just a nasty scuff to her handbag. With insurance fraud reaching critically high levels, the Insurance Fraud Bureau was created 8 years ago to clamp down on organised insurance fraud and protect innocent customers.
We essentially collate all the data from the industry and we help find the large-scale networks of organised fraud that individual insurers can't spot themselves.
Its biggest headache is crash for cash cases, where scammers either cause accidents or just pretend they've been involved in one. And more often than not, it isn't just the insurance companies who are the victims.
Crash for cash is a dangerous type of fraud. These people are taking vehicles out onto the road and they're essentially using them as weapons because they're driving one car into a collision with another, and often at quite high speed. We know that can lead to injuries, and ultimately we know it's led to at least one fatality.
With around 70,000 personal injury claims linked to crash for cash, insurers like LV are always suspicious when these types of claims are made. just like the one from Mr. Michael Singh.
It was alleged that the claimant was driving along a main road when our policyholder came out of a side road into his path and a collision occurred, injuring not just the occupants in his vehicle but also occupants in our vehicle. Multiple whiplash injuries, an awful lot of expense in terms of vehicle damage, totalling in excess of £100,000.
With a 6-figure settlement and 7 different claims of personal injury, LV were becoming increasingly suspicious of the alleged accident.
We realised that this particular claim was being managed through a claims management company that was well known to us for providing fraudulent claims.
Incredibly, some people will damage their own car to make it look like an accident. And after a forensic engineer had looked at Mr. Singh's car, it was obvious there was no side-on smash.
What it was consistent was to a raking impact, potentially down the side of a wall, which alerted our suspicions to the fact that this car could easily have been deliberately damaged to portray having been involved in an accident.
There was also no police report, and the insurance policy had been taken out just days before the smash, so LV decided they weren't going to pay out.
However, he didn't let it lie and decided to pursue the claim further, and with the help of his lawyers issued proceedings against our customer for his injuries and the damage to his vehicle.
Mr. Singh had more front than Blackpool. Not happy that his fraudulent claim had been turned down, he decided to take LV to court for the money. With such strong evidence in the insurer's favour, the case was thrown out. But LV didn't want to leave it there.
On this occasion, the evidence was so overwhelmingly strong, we felt it right to make an example of Mr. Singh, not just to him and his relatives and those involved in the accident management company, but also to the wider population. So we decided to bring our own proceedings through the civil courts to prosecute Mr. Singh for contempt. He was given a custodial sentence of 8 months.
Mr. Singh spent 8 months in prison for lying about his scamming in court. Cases like these are crucial in the clampdown on crash for cash, which is financially crippling the industry.
The industry estimate that crash for cash scams in total cost about £400 million a year, and that cost is ultimately passed on to all of us, you and I, who pay insurance premiums.
Often seen as a crime without time, cases like the LV one are helping the IFB in their fight against crash for cash criminals.
Insurance fraud has probably been historically seen as an easy target, so if anybody thinks they can still do this and get away with it, my message is you can't.
Insurance fraud in the UK has hit epidemic levels. It's costing us over £2 billion every year. That's almost £6 million every day. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injuries, even phantom pets. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing, and every year it's adding over £50 to your insurance bill. But insurers are fighting back, exposing 15 fake claims every hour. Armed with covert surveillance systems,
that's the subject out the vehicle,
sophisticated data analysis techniques, and a highly skilled dedicated police unit, they're catching the criminals red-handed.
Just don't lie to us.
All those con men, scammers, and cheats on the fiddle are now caught in the act and claimed and shamed. Coming up, how a mobile phone insurance claimant just dialed it in.
We've seen more sophisticated frauds, I think it's fair to say.
The IFED team get prepped for an arrest.
Get vested up for all jobs. You never know what's going to be behind the front door.
And how one bus passenger takes the realms of exaggeration up a gear.
You can't get any further from the truth than what actually happened in this incident.
These days, you're no one if you don't have a smartphone. With some models costing more than £700, they've become a major target for insurance fraud.
Because they are small, they're portable, they're easily lost and stolen, they're valuable, they're always being updated, and there's always a demand for them.
Would-be conman Mr. Hussain thought he'd try it on with a smartphone scam, but the insurers had his number. He began by opening an insurance policy for an iPhone.
Can I take your name, please?
Absolutely, yes. My name is Mr. Smith.
And another.
Yeah, I would like to go ahead with it.
And another.
Samuel Smith.
In all, he took out 10 policies.
Can I take your date of birth?
In one day. From the same insurer,
Good
Aviva.
afternoon, you're through to Aviva.
My name is Pavel. How can I help you? I'm looking for an insurance quote for home insurance.
What's your postcode?
Clearly, he wasn't putting much effort into covering his tracks, although he was keen to cash in, using the same receipt each time.
It was a claims handler in our claims centre that made the connection, identified that he presented the same documentation in support of each of the claims, which was an invoice from eBay.
And before long submitted 10 claims adding up to an incredible £7,000. With such a large amount at stake, Aviva looked at the receipt in more detail.
We were able to establish that the transactions on eBay had never been completed, and therefore the purchase has never occurred.
It was clear to Aviva that a fraudster was at work, but not a particularly good one. They went back to the claims and noticed something else.
And your name, please, sir? My name's Jack Smith.
The first names were all different.
Luke, Jason, Albert, Jack.
Have your name, please? Yeah, it's Roger, and my last name is Smith.
What was your name, sorry?
But Mr. Hussain couldn't be bothered to come up with different fake surnames.
Smith. And last name is Smith. Jason Smith. Samuel Smith. Jack Smith. Smith. Mark Smith. My last name is Smith. Luke Smith. And surname Smith, yeah? Yep.
We've seen more sophisticated frauds, I think it's fair to say.
His sheer laziness meant the fraud was easily uncovered.
What unravelled for Mr. Hussain was the fact that he was using bogus names and addresses for the same items, lost in the same circumstances, and providing the same documentation, using the same bank account.
And what bank will that be coming from?
With such strong evidence, the case was passed to the authorities.
Mr. Hussain was arrested and charged with 10 counts of fraud, and he received a 6-week custodial sentence and 100 hours community service. We thought it was a proportionate outcome that he deserved.
The case with Mr. Hussain is sadly a common one. Opportunistic fraudsters cost the industry £2 billion a year. But if you thought lying over the telephone was child's play, you'd be wrong. As Sally Griffiths and her crack team of psychological claims handlers know only too well.
It's actually very difficult for a person to lie over the telephone, and people, of course, we have the advantage because people think it's easier than it is in a face-to-face situation. People are more brazen and they try it on perhaps a little bit more over the phone than if somebody was sitting face-to-face with them.
But surely an insurance scammer would know if they were being interrogated over the phone. Well, that's the beauty of this technique. What seems like a friendly chat to you and I could really be an in-depth investigation into the truth behind your claim.
We use a combination of psychology, conversation management and a little bit of cognitive interviewing skills as well. Our investigators have intensive training in order to pick up any signs of deceptive behaviour over the telephone.
In other words, the team at VFM Services can work out by the way you talk if you're lying, just by listening to the way you describe your claim.
It's really interesting how much detail a person can go into if what's happened to them is genuine, but Fraudster really struggles with this. So we're really listening to see how much detail they can give us confidently.
By studying trends in insurance fraud, Sally's teams have been able to pinpoint the profile of the average fraudster. And you might be surprised at the results.
We've actually done quite a lot of research into this, and what we found is the average fraudster is very typically an opportunist, someone who doesn't consider themselves to be a criminal, and someone who is just perhaps an ordinary person, doesn't think that there's anything wrong with it at all.
But it's this cavalier attitude which is ultimately an insurance cheat's downfall.
Their voice can give away so much. You can detect an awful lot of nervousness and hesitation in a voice. Once the fraudster realises that it's not so easy, we find that customers tend to withdraw their claims rather than carry on.
And when it comes to the success of these techniques, the figures speak for themselves.
Our fraud detection techniques have had a really big impact on the industry. In the last 9 years, we've saved over 58 million for the industry as a whole. Last year, 40% of the customers that we spoke to actually chose to walk away from their claims or had their claims repudiated because of the techniques that we were using.
Still to come, a crash for cash gang get dramatic.
Person ran down the bus and headbutted the windscreen of it, totally over the top.
And how a shaggy dog story was quickly sniffed out.
The policyholder suggested she'd reported the loss to the police, but there was no police reference number.
Crash for cash is an insurer's worst nightmare. It's a scam used by criminal gangs to collect huge insurance payouts. Whether they damage the cars themselves or target innocent drivers in deliberate road crashes, the gangs don't care who they rip off or who gets hurt. When a bus travelling at low speed crashed on a quiet route in Sheffield, it was seen as an accident and nothing out of the ordinary. After the crash, a report was filed by the driver. Simon Robertson is from First Group, the company that owns the bus.
Following the accident, we asked our drivers, all of our drivers, to report through to our first response unit. And the driver did so on this occasion, and the details were taken. And a lot of it looked sort of fairly innocent, innocuous, and normal.
But then something happened which turned the case on its head. The police received a tip-off alleging fraud on a massive scale.
We were getting a call from an anonymous male saying that this accident had been staged and there were going to be a lot of fraudulent claims submitted. And they were going to defraud the insurance companies.
They went back to the report and immediately noticed some discrepancies.
The bus would generally have had about 6 people on it on that journey at that time of day.
But when the accident occurred, the bus was packed. As predicted, large numbers of claims started to roll in.
At the time of the accident, there were 34 people on the bus, and we received claims from 29. In such an accident, where the collision occurred at such a low speed, there might be no claim at all. There might be some minor damage to the vehicle that might need repairing. Injury claims, probably not.
However, the claims were all remarkably similar and alleged serious injuries.
The soft tissue injuries that were presented were what you might term a whiplash injury. It didn't really correlate with the force of the impact that had been reported to us.
But not everyone on the bus was in on the scam, and their version of events was very different from what was being claimed.
The genuine passengers were saying to the police is that, this was a minor crash, and yet people were throwing themselves about on the bus. One person ran down the bus and headbutted the windscreen of it, totally over the top.
Everything was pointing to fraud on a massive scale, so the police began to dig deeper.
We started looking at the people on the bus and recognising them, and because of the intelligence we'd got, we started looking at a claims company, which was City Claims for You, and we could see there were links between the claims company, the bus driver and other people on the bus, to the point where we executed a warrant at the claims company's offices, and there we found various documents, lists of people's names, of people who'd been on the bus. And it was clear to us that some fraud was actually taking place.
The bus crash was just the tip of the iceberg.
We investigated further into the claims company and found about 38 suspicious claims or incidents that had been claimed for across the country.
Again and again, the same names cropped up.
Some of them were involved in various accidents in various capacities, and you think, are these people really this unlucky? And the answer is no. And in some instances, we were able to prove that they weren't actually in the locations that they claimed to be at the time of the accident.
The police suspected that the owners of City Claims for You were behind a huge web of fraud.
They were an organised crime group. Omar Gulzar and Shoaib Nawaz were the centre of it.
Omar Gulzar in particular attracted the attention of the police.
He was a very controlling, domineering character. Many people were afraid of him, and he used that fear to manipulate them for his own gain.
Perhaps the most disturbing element of the scam was the involvement of the bus driver. He'd been paid £500 by the gang to make the accident seem legitimate.
Adam Herbert was a poor soul, really. He's ended up being a victim himself, if you like. He'd been bullied and frightened and backed into a corner for whatever reason where he felt he would say that he had no option but to go through with it. He could have come to the police and said, look, I'm being forced to do this, can you help me? And we would have been able to help him.
Hard facts were needed to build the case, so First Group examined the vehicles involved.
There was pretty minor damage suffered by the bus in this accident. We've got photos showing minor cracks at the front of the bus. The other vehicle was reported as having suffered minor damage at the time. However, when we were sent photographs later on, they showed really quite extensive damage to the back of the other vehicle.
It didn't add up, so they called in a professional.
The forensic engineer reported back that the damage clearly could not have been sustained in the accident, and it looked to him as if it had clearly been done elsewhere at another time, perhaps involved in other accidents or hit with a sledgehammer a number of times. This additional evidence made us more suspicious.
The investigation revealed the breathtaking scale of Omar and Shoaib's crimes.
We believe these fraudsters had been arranging these accidents for at least 6 months during the first part of 2011, and they had as many as 56 accidents.
After a thorough investigation, the case came to court.
The judge identified this as a highly organised criminal gang that the public needed protection from. So Mohammed Omar Gulzar, he was the organiser. He got sentenced to 4.5 years imprisonment. Shoaib Nawaz was his kind of deputy. He was in prison for 3.5 years.
Adam Herbert was also punished for his part in the fraud.
The bus driver in this case got a 20-month prison sentence for the sake of £500.
He should have known better. He took a terrible risk in risking his own life, possibly, and the passengers on the bus.
He's been caught, he's been prosecuted, he has a criminal record, a high price to pay.
Gulzar and Nawaz tried to claim £500,000 in fake accidents, but failed and collectively were put behind bars for 8 years. The Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, or IFED for short, is an insurance scammer's worst nightmare.
There is a dedicated 40-strong unit that work 24/7 hunting down insurance fraudsters.
The team was set up over 2 years ago to crack down on insurance crime in the UK.
Is there anything here that shouldn't be here that we're going to find?
In that time, it's made over 450 arrests and seen around 200 prosecutions.
If it's a fraud, it's in insurance, then it may well come to IFED's attention and IFED will take the necessary action.
Police officers, can you come to the door, please?
It's 7 o'clock in the morning and Detective Constable Kate Sibley is up north, preparing for an early morning raid.
Get vested up for all jobs, it's just officer safety. Mandatory, you never know what's going to be behind the front door. With knives, etc, etc. I'm not saying the chap we're after today's got knives or anything, but we want to be on the safe side.
Arriving at the suspect's house before sunrise means the team have a head start on any individual they're investigating.
I enjoy coming out and knocking on people's doors, if I'm honest with you, and finding the evidence to prosecute. The office-bound side of it isn't quite so exciting, but it's all part and parcel of the job, so it has to be done to build a case. But I do enjoy the early starts and the knocking on the doors.
Along with her colleague, DS Mark Forster, they're on their way to arrest a suspect who they believe has been involved in a fraudulent insurance claim.
The job today is in relation to a claim that's been put in for personal injury and damages, saying that the local authority were at fault and negligent.
Kate's investigations have led her to an address thought to be the suspect's main residence. But locating a property in the dark is always tricky.
They're just sort of all tucked away. Sort of the address we're going to, they're all tucked away behind new build houses.
In here?
Yeah. So it's fine, it's a little bit difficult to find. So these, yeah, these ones here.
Moments later, Kate and the team arrive at the house. But concerned the suspect may make a run for it, they ask the local police to cover all exits.
Just want to go around the back.
Morning. City London Police is about. Right, have you got his address? Have you got a phone number for him? Can I have it, please?
It's alleged the suspect no longer lives at the address, but the occupant does have a contact number for him, so Mark gives him a call.
It's Detective Sergeant Mark Fraudster from the City London Police here.
But he doesn't answer, and Mark has to leave a message.
We need to interview you as a matter of urgency in relation to a matter we're investigating. Could you please give me a call back?
It means the IFED team have lost the element of surprise and run the risk of losing evidence.
It's in your interest to get back to me as soon as possible. Yeah.
All we can do is wait. We can only do what we can do, but we'll get hold of him somehow. Whether he's invited in or we eventually find an address for him, we go and knock on the door. Because if he doesn't come back to us, then we'll just have to go back, do a lot more digging, find out his latest address and then come back. I won't give up.
But Kate is confident they will get their man.
It's just going to be a waiting game to see if he contacts us. You can't hide. We will get you, one way or another.
Later, Kate closes the net on her suspect.
Oh, yes, I am. Where are you?
Every year, thousands of pets go missing in the UK. For the owners, the loss can be unbearable.
When people lose a dog, people are desperately upset. It's not like where you've got a motor car with a dent in the wing and you just get the dent knocked out. It's part of your family.
In May 2010, one family was left devastated when their beloved pooch ran off during a riverside walk. Having lost all hope of finding the dog, its owner submitted a claim to Agria Pet Insurance, explaining what had happened.
The letter that came in with the claim form was talked about how the family and the children searched frantically for the animal. So very, very emotive in terms of the claim form. Information looked high and low for the animal for a few hours that afternoon. Had family and friends out to look after it, look for it as well. And then she'd also gone back to the spot for a number of weeks afterwards, left treats out, but to no avail.
It was a tragic loss. Although nothing could replace the beloved family pet, the insurers had to assess the missing mutt's worth.
It was an 8-month-old, a smooth-haired miniature dachshund, to all intents and purposes, young, healthy animal. If you bought one, again, you could range in price probably from £500 maybe to £1,000.
All that was left to do was check the paperwork, which is when the story started to look decidedly shaggy.
The first point where we had doubts was that the receipt that came in from the breeder, or was submitted on behalf of the breeder, the handwriting was very, very similar to the claim form.
This gave the insurers pause for thought, and they double-checked the other details.
The policyholder suggested she'd reported the loss to the police, but there was no police reference number. There are one or two other things as well. For example, the dog had never seen a vet in 8 months at all, even supposedly with the breeder or with the owner. Now, most dogs see a vet as a matter of course.
There was more than a whiff of suspicion about the claim, so Agria requested photographic evidence of the owner's beloved pet.
We had 7 photographs submitted. Again, more cause for doubt because very evidently in the 7 photographs there were 3 different dogs there.
To the untrained eye, they all look the same. But are you ready for a bit of doggy spot the difference? Number 1, the ages of the dogs are all different. Number 2, the eyebrow features are different. And number 3, the colouring on the nose. And after some sniffing around, Agria investigators quickly turned up the source of one of the pictures.
We looked around the internet, cursory search on Google Images, found the animal that had been used in the poster, and that was on a training website. And one of the other photographs was from an American website for puppies for sale. It looks like she went onto the internet to find images of dachshunds. Certainly to pull the poster together, an image of a dachshund was used rather than one of the photographs she had of a dachshund with the family.
Meanwhile, the owner finally produced a police reference number, but made a howler here.
However, in chasing that up, it appeared that the date that the animal was reported missing was 3 days before the actual date on the claim form.
By now, the claim was looking decidedly shaky.
We had sufficient evidence to give us sufficient confidence that what was being claimed for was not right, was fraudulent, and wasn't a bona fide claim.
The policyholder had made a real dog's dinner of the claim. With the wrong dates, handwriting and pictures, she'd well and truly put her foot in it. And Agria rejected it. The double-decker is a stalwart of our streets, always there any time of the day or night to take us from A to B. First Group transports over 2 million passengers every day. So when a report of an accident came into Lee Ingram, it wasn't that unusual. Yet.
The lady's claimed that the bus has stopped suddenly, causing her to fall down the stairwell from the upper deck. She's then injured her back and found herself lying prone on the floor. Her nephew has then fallen down the stairs after her and fallen on top of her, basically.
Falling from such a height down steep stairs on a moving bus can cause serious injuries.
Falling down from the top of the stairs to the bottom on a bus, you could quite conceivably break limbs or suffer a nasty head injury.
So when a claim came in for a series of muscular injuries, the case was still not that unusual.
The lady claimed that she sustained soft tissue, probably muscular injuries to her back and leg, and also she was having problems sleeping. 9 months on, she was still having difficulties with these injuries. Her nephew also claimed that he had sustained a whiplash injury when his neck was jerked backwards.
What did appear strange was that the woman and her 19-year-old nephew never reported it to the bus driver. But as the saying goes, pride comes before a fall.
Sometimes if people are injured on buses, they are embarrassed. You can be a bit ashamed if you fall over on a bus and everyone's sort of looking at you, and you won't always stop and speak to the driver. You will sometimes just get off the bus, but CCTV will show whether it happened or not.
The camera never lies, so Lee took to the multiple onboard CCTV cameras to see exactly what happened. Now, prepare yourself, this is pretty shocking.
When reviewing the footage, I saw the lady and her nephew board the bus. They walk quite comfortably up the stairs, they sit at the front of the bus. Some time passes, they press the bell, they walk down the stairs, the nephew walks down first and waits at the bottom, the bus stops. He gets off the bus, closely followed by his aunt, and they both exit with no event having happened whatsoever.
Sorry, can I see that again? I think I missed something.
I watched the footage from the beginning to the end, and there was nothing on that footage that even closely resembled what this lady was describing.
No, you didn't miss it. The woman never fell down the stairs, and as the footage shows, she walked off the bus completely unscathed.
You can't get any further from the truth than what actually happened in this incident. Nothing has happened throughout the whole journey to resemble anything like she is describing.
Most insurance fraud is an opportunistic exaggeration of an event that did happen. But this woman took it to a whole new level.
In most instances, you'll see someone will exaggerate the circumstances and say something had happened when there were slight variations. It's extremely rare that we actually get a claim in where nothing happened at all. It's actually quite shocking as to how anyone would make such a blatant attempt to defraud a company. The story is totally and utterly fabricated. It's just shocking that someone would even try this.
First Group rejected the claim. The IFED team are on the hunt for a man involved in an alleged personal injury insurance fraud. They'd hoped that by getting to his address before daylight, they'd get their man and any evidence.
Just want to go around the back.
But they'd come to a dead end.
Morning, City London Police. Is about. Have you got a phone number for him?
Forced to leave a message on his phone.
We need to interview you as a matter of urgency.
All they can do is wait.
We will get you, one way or another.
After following some leads, they think they finally found him. At first, it appears that no one is at home.
They sit around the back.
But Kate's persistence pays off when a friend of the suspect opens the door.
Yeah, City London Police. Looking. Right, does he work?
We're coming.
Although the occupant claims the suspect doesn't live here, Kate and Mark want to check for themselves.
Well, there's a lot of male clothes in here.
With no leads from the homeowner, it's another dead end for the IFED team.
No, definitely not. The main bedroom's got loads of male clothes in it.
There's a bedroom there as well. That front
Yeah.
room can use as a bedroom.
Yeah.
But that was like all female.
Yeah, no, there's male clothes in the top bedroom.
Kate heads back to the car and finally receives the call she's been waiting for.
Oh, yes, I am. Where are you? All right, OK, I'll speak to you in half an hour. He's just phoned me.
Has he?
Yeah.
All right.
Believe you're looking for me? Yes, I am. What's it regarding? Give me half an hour, I'll phone you back and meet you. Where are you? I'm not telling you that, am I?
Kate and Mark think the suspect is buying time so he can get legal advice before coming into the station.
He's going to want to meet at the Nick, I would hazard a guess, but he's going to get lifted at the Nick.
He's probably going to get brief sorted, isn't he?
Yeah.
And a call back, or he's brief and call back.
It's very frustrating, but when you've got somebody on the end of the phone and the number hasn't shown up he's calling from, it's a bit difficult to sort of say, right, you're here, we'll come and get you, because he won't tell us. And those are the game we play.
It's been a tough morning, but the best things come to those that wait. And finally, Kate gets some good news.
Suspect's solicitor has just phoned me, and our suspect is making his way to the police station as we speak. So once he arrives, we'll arrest him, get him booked into custody, and then we'll interview him. But he is having a solicitor, so he is on his way. So we've got our man eventually.
The case is still under investigation. Insurance fraud in the UK has hit epidemic levels. It's costing us over £2 billion every year. That's almost £6 million every day. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injuries, even phantom pets. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing, and every year it's adding over £50 to your insurance bill. But insurers are fighting back, exposing 15 fake claims every hour. Armed with covert surveillance systems,
That's the subject out the vehicle.
sophisticated data analysis techniques, and a highly skilled dedicated police unit, they're catching the criminals red-handed.
Just don't lie to us.
All those con men, scammers, and cheats on the fiddle are now caught in the act and claimed and shamed. Today, the pedestrian who forgot her Green Cross code and tried to cash in on it.
She's looked both ways? No, that's not true at all.
The police's Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department catch a suspected fraudster with his trousers down.
Well, I've no pants on. Don't need to get dressed.
And the jaw-dropping lengths that one woman went to in her bid to scam insurance companies.
In my 2.5 years in charge of IFED, this is the most despicable and shocking case I've come across by some distance.
Nowadays, we're bombarded by adverts from claims management companies telling us that we could be owed a small fortune in the event of an accident. This has led to a boom in claims for personal injuries, and while many of these are legitimate, some are not.
I think that some people are under the misguided conception that wherever there's an incident, then there is a claim to be made. That's not true at all. In order to be successful in a claim in this country, you've got to prove that someone was negligent.
But proving negligence isn't as easy as some people think, and public transport operator First Group find themselves battling dubious claims on a weekly basis. One particular incident which raised such a claim occurred on a busy bus route in central London.
We have a woman alleging that she's looked left, she's looked right, she's seen no traffic coming, so she's assumed it's safe to cross. She stepped out and the bus has hit her.
A pedestrian versus a bus is only ever going to have one winner. Now, as any youngster with good road sense will tell you, before crossing the road, it's vital that you stop, Look both ways, listen and look again. And although the pedestrian in this case claims she did exactly that, First Group weren't so sure.
The one thing that would suggest that's not true is if you look right, you would see a 15-ton bus coming towards you, and you should be able to therefore stop and not get run over.
Historically, cases like this would be one person's word against another. But thanks to modern technology, it's becoming easier to find out what really happened.
She's given her version of events, the driver will give his version of events. The one factual piece of evidence we have is the CCTV footage itself. The camera doesn't lie, it shows a true picture of what actually happened, and it's an invaluable source of evidence.
Most buses have at least 10 CCTV cameras, and although they're primarily used for passenger and driver safety, they can also be very handy when it comes to settling claims like this.
When we've looked at the CCTV footage, we're expecting to see a woman stepping out from between two vehicles, having looked both ways, and stepping out just not having seen the bus for some reason.
It sounds reasonable enough, but is it what really happened?
You'll see the lady suddenly appear from between the two vehicles. She doesn't look, she just looks left, steps out. There's no attempt to look right.
The woman steps out between a stationary sightseeing bus and a trailer. The double-decker is so large she can't see the other bus coming her way. And to make matters worse, she doesn't even look.
If you're going to step out from between two vehicles, your view's going to be very poor. You need to make sure that you can see what's coming before you step out.
The driver has no time to react, and as quick as he's on the brakes, the woman is hit by the front corner of the bus, throwing her up in the air.
There is no way he's going to avoid hitting her when she steps out when the bus is that close, and the footage shows exactly that.
From the driver's perspective, it looks like a devastating blow. But the multiple cameras positioned at various points on the bus give a clear picture of exactly how severe the collision was and what happened next.
You can see the force of the impact has driven her to the ground and she's rolled underneath the flatbed truck, but she's out and up pretty quickly.
As severe as the impact looked, thankfully the woman wasn't seriously hurt. But it wasn't long before First Group received a claim for her injuries.
The injuries that were subsequently claimed for compensation from us were probably more to do with her hitting the ground than actually the impact with the bus itself. She's got some minor cuts and bruises, the ever-present whiplash claim. She's got a main injury to her knee, which has necessitated her having to use crutches for up to 6 weeks. Some 9 months after the accident, she's still alleged to be suffering from her injuries.
Incidents like this are nothing new, and First Group find themselves dealing with claims like this on a weekly basis.
In light of the advertising that goes on today, and it's made quite clear how much you can get from a simple slip or a trip or a fall at work, it's probably reasonable to assume that this lady may have assumed she can get £3,000 to £3,500 for this accident. So you could argue, why wouldn't she put a claim in? I would say because it's an out-and-out lie, to be honest, but that's just my opinion.
It may sound harsh, but it's important to remember that the woman alleged to have looked both ways and is claiming that any negligence lies with the driver. Such allegations mean that in cases like this, it isn't just the injured parties who can be the victims.
What happens to the drivers that are confronted with these things on a daily basis? I watched the CCTV footage back on this one. You can see the horror and the general anguish in the driver's face. He just looks horrified that this has happened. And these sorts of things, when drivers are confronted with these sorts of situations, this wasn't even a serious injury. Had it been more serious, some of the drivers can walk away with serious emotional scars. It can affect their confidence, the way they drive, and yeah, it can have a big knock-on effect.
Although this case was a genuine accident, the woman tried to exaggerate her claim. But there are some people out there who will create an accident with the sole purpose of cashing in. Someone who has first-hand experience of this despicable crime is bus driver Maxine Wild, who found herself at the centre of a number of fraudulent claims after a motorist deliberately collided with her bus.
I love my job, I really do, and I want to keep on doing it. But when this incident happened, I thought, that's it. I finally found my dream job after 30 years of looking, and it's going to be taken away from me. I was a little bit unsure of whether I'd still have a job at the end of it all. They think it's victimless, But it isn't... They don't care if I'm unemployed. They don't care if I have sleepless nights.
Thanks to CCTV footage, Maxine's case was thrown out. But what about our pedestrian who appeared to forget her Green Cross code and then exaggerated her claim? Armed with video evidence of the whole incident, First Group felt they had a watertight case against the woman's claims.
Upon reviewing the CCTV footage in this particular case, we've then revisited the lady's statement. She's trying to cross the road, that's true. She's been hit by a bus, this is also true. She's looked both ways? No, that's not true at all, and the footage clearly shows she hasn't, so we've gone back to her solicitors and we've said the statement given by your client just doesn't match up with what's on the CCTV footage. Here's a copy, tell us what you think. We haven't heard since.
Given the video evidence, it's hardly surprising that this case has stalled. And Lee is keen to point out that injured parties are only entitled to compensation when they are not at fault.
The customer care side of First Group, which I'm involved in, very much just want to deal with the genuine claims as quickly as possible and for the right amount, and that's what we're really there for. When we have incidents like this, it slows procedures down because we have to investigate claims that are not genuine. Her statement was not true, and although I feel very sorry for anyone that's been hit by a bus, regardless of how it's happened, it doesn't mean that we're just going to keel over and pay every single claim, because we can only really pay cases where we are negligent, and in this case, it's just not.
So if there's a lesson to be learned from a case like this, it's that when there's no blame, there's no claim. Still to come, an insurance company turns the tables and reclaims what's rightfully theirs.
He's got no idea that we're coming to recover the vehicle today, which is our weapon, if you like, the element of surprise.
And one of the most shocking cases that IFED has ever dealt with.
And it was one fraud after another fraud after another fraud.
When insurance fraud hit an all-time high, the City of London Police decided that enough was enough and formed a specialist unit with the sole aim of tackling the fraudsters head-on.
IFED is a dedicated team that deals with insurance fraud. Whatever insurance policy there is out there, we investigate it.
It's 6:45 a.m. and this team of IFED officers are heading up north to investigate a suspected case of car insurance fraud. Aman Taylor is heading up the operation.
We're hoping to find any computer equipment or any genuine documentation which we can use as evidence later once we get to the interview stage. It's going to be slightly more difficult than dealing with a standard case. He's gone to lengths to cover up his tracks.
Every raid has its own risks and obstacles, and today is no exception.
The property itself we've looked at from research, and we believe to be large enough, a big enough property that it's going to take a few of us to secure the property. That's why we've got uniform attending to assist us with securing the property and securing a person once we arrive there.
When the team arrive at the location, the property is so large that a man does a quick recce to find the front door.
I think it's maybe the property. I'm just going to have a quick look up that driveway.
As the building is unlit and pretty large, it takes the team a few moments to work out the layout.
Pardon? Ah.
But nothing deters the IFED team, and soon they're at the front door, ready to give their suspect an early morning wake-up.
Hello, you Mr.
Yeah.
We have a warrant to search the premises.
The team are in, although unsurprisingly, not everyone is particularly pleased to see them.
Oh dearie me, I can't believe this. I've never had out like this in my bloody life.
After a dressing down by a surprised family member, a man arrests the suspect and explains the implications this will have on his privacy.
Do you want me to get dressed?
Yeah, what I will do is, because you're under arrest, what I'll ask is that one of the uniform officer will stay with you just while you get dressed. He's going
I've no pants on. So
yeah, I know, he's not going to stand there and watch or anything like that, but he's got to be with you whilst you're under arrest because you're under arrest.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go get dressed.
Once arrested, you are never out of sight of the police officers, regardless of what you are or are not wearing, and it's not uncommon for suspects to try and destroy incriminating evidence. Meanwhile, DI Dom Parkin explains to the suspect's family that their cooperation could make the process a lot easier.
Rather than us searching the house from top to bottom, we could say to him, we are here to search for documentation for the insurance claim.
Yeah.
If you want to show us the drawer where it is,
Right,
and we're satisfied that that's what we need, then that may conclude our search. But if he says, search the house, then we'll search the house.
Right, okay.
We'll be over that forklift thing.
Keen not to have the entire house searched, the suspect agrees to show a man and the team where he keeps the documentation that they're after.
Do you want me to go get it for you? Do you want me to come with you?
Yeah, if you can show us where we're going. Is it within this house?
No, it's outside. There's nothing in this house.
Alright, we'll come with you to the office and you can show us to the offices.
The suspect is giving his full cooperation and is claiming to have all of the information a man needs in one briefcase. But of course, IFED never take what suspects say at face value, and there's absolutely zero chance of them leaving it at that.
So everything business related would be in this office, and that is your work computer.
Yeah, if you want to take the work computer, that's fine. Yeah, you'll just crack on and see what you want.
So far, we've located our subject, so we'll be looking at completing our search, seizing what we need to seize, and then taking it for him to be interviewed. I'll put that down as ATO 2.
To be sure of building the strongest case possible, the team are seizing anything that could provide the evidence they need.
We'll take this, and then there's a possibility that we might even have a trace of him producing a document on Word.
But computers and laptops aren't the only things that can leave an incriminating trail.
What we can do with the phones is we can download the data from them, and we can get any text message, phone calls, anything like that that's relevant from the phones themselves.
Before leaving, the office is given a final sweep for any more evidence that might help secure a conviction.
Well, looks like it's daylight.
Starting the day.
Several hours after arriving, the search is complete. But for a man and his team, this is just the beginning. The good news, though, is that things are looking promising.
Now, our intention is to go back to the police station, refer back to the exhibits that we've seized, and we can then use them for interview once we've got him back at the police station.
As anyone who drives a car knows, being without it can be a real pain in the neck. So in the event of a crash, a complimentary hire car can be a real lifesaver. And thanks to legislation, it's something that insurance policyholders can take advantage of.
The credit hire industry works in that if somebody has an accident in a car and it's not their fault, they're entitled in law to a replacement like-for-like car. So if, for example, you have an estate car where you need to put a dog in the back, a pet or a pushchair, you're entitled to a replacement like-for-like car.
Sounds great, doesn't it? But of course, the idea of a free set of wheels also appeals to fraudsters. After all, why pay for your own when you can use someone else's? To combat this threat, insurance companies have dedicated teams tasked with keeping a watchful eye on their hire cars. Neil Thomas heads up the Asset Protection Unit at Accident Exchange.
We have about 3,000 vehicles, mainly prestige vehicles. So our responsibility is to make sure those vehicles, when they're out on hire, are fully protected, are being used effectively. They're not getting involved in things we don't want to get involved in. So we're really in charge of making sure the assets are safe and make sure people don't disappear with very valuable cars.
Sadly, sometimes cars do go missing, which is exactly what happened when one of Accident Exchange's customers submitted a claim for crash damage to his pride and joy.
We replaced his car, which is an Aston Martin, with one of our Bentley cars, which is a Bentley GT Continental, which is around the same value.
So far, so good. But when Accident Exchange began to investigate the claim, they soon discovered something a little odd.
The collision was between an Aston Martin and a third-party vehicle. Our inquiries revealed that the client owned both vehicles, so it's potentially a staged accident. This aroused our suspicion to say it's probably a fraudulent claim.
An investigation revealed the accident had been staged. But strangely enough, it was at this time that the policyholder went off the radar. After several months of unsuccessfully trying to contact him, the Asset Protection Unit resorted to what's known in the trade as a snatchback.
Doing a snatchback, so getting the car back from the client, is the last resort for us.
As the name suggests, a snatchback is where the rightful owners of the vehicle use a spare set of keys to take it back. But doing so can be a risky business.
It was a rural location, so out in the country, a nice house. We went quite early in the morning, which is probably the best time to go. The interesting thing for our guys that turned up was there was a rather large Rottweiler and it was all fenced off, so we couldn't actually gain access to the property. But the Rottweiler certainly woke us up that time in the morning.
The guard dog may have added a bit of bite to proceedings, but it didn't stop the team from reclaiming the Bentley.
This particular case went to court because we could prove that it was a stage accident. The guy that owned the Aston Martin had breached the terms of his condition, the contract, so we needed to take him to court to recover our costs.
For his troubles, the policyholder was ordered to repay costs totalling £50,000. But cases like this are becoming increasingly common, and today the Asset Protection Unit are on their way to carry out another snatchback. It's early morning, and Ian and Tony are a long way from home. They've been on the road for almost 4 hours, but are now just minutes away from the location.
He's got no idea that we're coming to recover the vehicle today, which is our weapon, if you like, the element of surprise.
They might be the rightful owners, but snatching cars can still be a hazardous business.
Our main concern is to, at all costs, avoid confrontation. You can never account for what may happen once you get there.
But an irate customer isn't the only thing the guys need to worry about.
In the past, it has happened that although the client has obtained the vehicle fraudulently, he will report it stolen. And there have been instances in the past where we've actually been pulled up by the police and they've thought that we've actually stolen the vehicle, when in actual fact we're the lawful owners and we're just recovering our property.
To avoid any confusion today, Ian and Tony have alerted the local police about what they're doing.
The vehicle should be up here somewhere. We just start having to look and identify if we can see any grey Vauxhall insignias.
Quite closely parked together, aren't they? I hope I can get it out if he's here. The horse is there. That's it.
That's it.
Right.
Having found the car, Ian has to act quickly. There's no room for error. And now definitely isn't the time for stalling it. The guys are safely away.
We've got the vehicle. It appears undamaged at the moment.
Ian and Tony pull into a garage to give the car a quick once-over and check there isn't anything illegal on board.
There's a lot of property in there, isn't there?
Apart from a load of junk on the back seat, the car appears to be okay.
Our priority now is to get the vehicle back to Birmingham as soon as possible. We'll try and make contact with the client just to let him know that we have recovered the vehicle and we're sending his property back to him. I'm sure it won't be the last one that we'll be doing, but yeah, a very successful mission.
Just 2 weeks after its inception, IFED dealt with a case that would eventually highlight the shocking depths that some fraudsters would sink to. The initial report was of a young woman called Emma Fischer, who was suspected of submitting fraudulent insurance claims. DC Alex Cooley headed up the investigation.
We went up to Walsall and Emma Fischer was arrested in relation to 7 fake household contents insurance claims. Time and time again, she was claiming for the same items. But she told us at that stage that the frauds were limited to a total of 7.
Even after 2 years of operations and 450 arrests, head of IFED David Wood can still clearly remember the sequence of events that surrounded Emma Fischer.
We hoped that encounter with the police and with IFED would be her one and only dealings with us. Will that be long enough? We were sadly mistaken.
3 months later, IFED were dealing with a number of suspected fraudulent claims when they noticed a familiar name on the case notes.
This time, we could see the extent of her offending. It was over a long period of time, was quite systematic and well thought out. It was different to the offending we'd seen before.
It was clear that IFED were dealing with a serial fraudster. But what was disturbing were the lengths that Emma Fischer was prepared to go to in the hope of cashing in. For starters, there were multiple claims on pet insurance policies, some of which were for dogs that didn't even exist.
Emma Fischer was typically claiming that she had purchased a new Chihuahua and that Chihuahua had subsequently either been stolen or it had gone astray. She would substantiate that with emails pretending to be a pet breeder to prove the original purchase of the dogs. She was quite imaginative. The claim was generally for the entire price of a replacement dog.
But IFED soon discovered that claiming on phantom pooches was just the tip of the iceberg. Because when it came to Emma Fischer and fake claims, no insurer was safe.
She moved into mobile phone insurance, where she claimed that she was mugged and that she'd lost her mobile phone. She pretended that she had been defrauded on her bank account, typically claiming that, again, she'd been robbed and that her card had been misused. She also got involved in a couple of more specialist lines of insurance, including, for example, income protection insurance, so where she claimed that she'd had a job, which was a lie, and that she had subsequently been made unemployed and she was claiming for an indemnity to cover her lost earnings.
Defrauding insurance companies for a bit of cash with phantom pets and made-up muggings is one thing, but IFED's investigation soon highlighted that Emma Fischer was anything but an average fraudster. In fact, she had even used false claims to bag herself a house adapted for a disabled person. That's right, a house.
In order to obtain the disabled adapted house, Emma Fischer sent an email to the housing authority pretending to be a doctor. The doctor had the fake name of Mr. Ahmed. Mr. Ahmed, in this supposed email, was saying how Emma Fischer was suffering from terminal cancer and needed use of a wheelchair. And then in the same claim, Emma Fischer also pretended to be a social worker and emailed claiming that Emma Fischer had been the victim of domestic violence.
With no moral scruples, Emma Fischer even claimed she had cancer. In fact, there were no depths that she wouldn't stoop to.
Not only did she get the disabled adapted house under false pretences, but within the first couple of weeks of her tenancy, she made a false public liability claim against the housing group. And what she did was she pretended that she'd fallen over some debris in the garden, which she'd alleged had been left by the housing authority. In fact, on that occasion, she had taken an image of a bruised leg from Google and submitted it as evidence of her own false injury. And as part of that claim, Emma Fischer alleged that she'd suffered a miscarriage as a result of the fall, which was extremely serious, and again turned out to be totally untrue. It became clear just how manipulative Emma Fischer was prepared to be. Obviously meant that in my investigation I had to take everything she told me with a very large degree of caution.
To you and me, that's a very large pinch of salt. After further investigation, IFED had quite a dossier on Emma Fischer, and the findings were staggering to say the least.
Our investigation revealed that over a period of almost 4 years, Emma Fischer had submitted 65 fraudulent insurance claims.
Incredibly, during that time, Emma Fischer only got away with £8,500. But it was the incredible lies she told that made her case stand out.
In my 2.5 years in charge of IFED, this is the most despicable and shocking case I've come across by some distance. We've not encountered this before, that someone would pretend they've got a terminal illness, would pretend they've been the victim of domestic violence, or would pretend that they're actually had a miscarriage. But Emma Fischer did each of those 3 things.
It was clear to me on listening to the phone recordings of her deception and to reading the various emails that she'd sent, that she seemed to be fully immersed in the roles that she was assuming. She was almost like a method actor. I think she could be quite convincing.
But Emma Fischer had given her final performance. In July 2012, she was arrested by IFED detectives and charged with 22 counts of fraud. When she appeared at Wolverhampton Crown Court, she received a 22-month prison sentence.
I believe Emma Fischer's crime spree had developed almost into a habit, and she effectively couldn't stop herself. And it was one fraud after another fraud after another fraud.